Have you ever heard of a country declaring war on birds and losing? It sounds like a joke, but it actually happened. Get ready for the wild, wacky, and utterly true story of the Great Emu War of 1932. Imagine this. It's post-World War I Australia. Thousands of veterans have been given land in Western Australia to farm wheat. It's a tough life, but they're making it work. Then the Great Depression hits and wheat prices plummet. Things are already looking grim. And just when they thought it couldn't get any worse, a new enemy appeared on the horizon. Not a foreign army, but an army of emus. Yes, you heard that right. Around 20,000 emus on their annual migration discovered these new farmlands. To them, it was an all-you-can-eat buffet. They trampled fences, devoured crops, and left a trail of destruction. The farmers, many of whom were ex-soldiers, were desperate. They couldn't handle this feathered invasion on their own. So they did what any group of ex-soldiers would do. They appealed to the Minister of Defense, and surprisingly, he agreed to help. The plan was simple: deploy soldiers armed with machine guns to deal with the emu problem. It seemed like a surefire victory. What chance did a bunch of birds have against modern military firepower? The stage was set for what the media dramatically dubbed the Great Emu War. In November 1932, a small military unit led by Major G.P.W. Meredith, along with 2 soldiers armed with Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition, arrived in the Campion district. A cinematographer was even sent along to capture the glorious victory for the newsreels. Confidence was high. Major Meredith was quoted saying the emus would make excellent target practice. The first engagement began. The soldiers spotted a flock of about 50 emus. They set up their guns and prepared to open fire. But the emus were smarter than they looked. They didn't just stand there. As soon as the guns started rattling, the flock scattered in all directions, running at speeds up to 50 kilometers per hour. The soldiers fired wildly, but the birds were incredibly difficult targets. At the end of the day, only a handful of emus had been taken down, while hundreds of bullets had been wasted. It was a less than stellar start. A few days later, the soldiers tried a new tactic. They planned an ambush near a dam where over 1,000 emus were known to gather. This was it, their chance to make a real dent in the emu population. They set up the machine gun and waited. As the emus approached, the soldiers opened fire, but disaster struck. The machine gun jammed after firing just a few rounds. Before they could fix it, the emus had vanished into the bush, leaving the soldiers frustrated and empty-handed. The press started to have a field day. Headlines mocked the army's failure. One politician joked that if the soldiers deserved any medals, they should be awarded to the emus, who had won every round so far. The birds were proving to be formidable opponents. An ornithologist observing the conflict noted their incredible resilience and tactics. He described how the emu army seemed to have its own leaders. While the main flock was feeding, one large, black-plumed emu would stand guard, and at the first sign of danger, it would give a warning call, and the entire group would scatter. They were described as being as difficult to hit as Zulus and having the invulnerability of tanks. Major Meredith himself was forced to admit defeat, at least for a while. He was quoted in a report saying, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks." After about a week and nearly 2,500 rounds of ammunition fired for a laughably small number of confirmed kills, the first attempt was called off. The soldiers withdrew, and the media declared a victory for the emus. But the farmers were still in trouble. The emus, emboldened by their victory, continued their rampage. The pleas for help grew louder, and under immense pressure, the Minister of Defense authorized a second attempt later that month. This time, the army claimed to be more successful. Official reports stated that nearly 1,000 emus were killed over the course of about a month. However, this still left tens of thousands of emus roaming the farmlands. Ultimately, the military intervention was deemed too expensive and ineffective. The government decided to pull the plug on the war for good. So, who won the Great Emu War? All signs point to the emus. In the end, the government found a more practical, albeit less dramatic, solution. They implemented a bounty system, encouraging farmers and hunters to deal with the emus themselves. This proved to be far more effective than sending in the military. Over the next few years, tens of thousands of bounties were claimed, and the emu problem was gradually brought under control. Stronger, emu-proof fences were also developed, which provided a more permanent solution. The Great Emu War of 1932 remains one of the strangest and most amusing chapters in Australian history. It's a story of how nature, in the form of a large, flightless bird, can outsmart human military might. It serves as a hilarious reminder that sometimes the most straightforward-sounding plans can go spectacularly wrong. And it teaches us a valuable lesson. Never, ever underestimate your opponent, especially if they can run like the wind and have feathers. So the next time you see an emu, give it a nod of respect. You're looking at a descendant of the undefeated champions of the Great Emu War. What a legendary tale! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this bizarre story from history, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what other weird historical events you'd like to hear about. See you next time.